Hi everybody, welcome to our part 2 training video for Host Ministries, formerly known as Ushering. In the first video we talked a little bit about the role of what hosts we're going to be doing, what hosts we're going to be doing on Sunday morning, and we will be sort of elaborating on that today. And also we talked about how important hosting was as a ministry, and finished up talking about just some things that were appropriate versus inappropriate, etc. We'll get on to some of the more logistical, practical things today. And the first of that, we'll just get straight onto it, is when to arrive. When do you turn up if you're on the hosting ministry? Well, I think it's a good rule of thumb to be there about 30 minutes before church begins. At the moment, that's obviously 9:30. Church officially begins at 10 o'clock. In future, that may be sooner. We may possibly go for an advertised starting time of 9:30. Hear me out, by the way. Hear me out here. An advertised starting time of 9:30, but start the actual service still at 10, i.e. Move to a pre-service morning tea. So we advertise it as 9:30 to folks, so that if they do, and when they do, turn up at 9:30, it's a entrance into a community. They have a cup of tea and a biscuit, etc., as we eventually do morning tea before the service. It's just a far friendlier, warmer atmosphere to walk into. And quite frankly, that is church, a gathering. That's what the word church means. So that is, if you like, the beginning of church. But at the moment, it's 9:30, but in future, it may possibly be 9 o'clock for hosts to arrive. When hosts arrive, one of the key things to do is to set up the entrance desk. At the moment, of course, because of COVID, it's in the church hall. But when restrictions go off, if we get to utilise the entrance foyer again, it will be obviously setting up the table in the entrance foyer. But some of the things that need to be on that table are things like the boxes of name tags, the connect forms that we have for visitors to sign and give their responses on and give their details as well. The role, and again at the moment, of course, this may change in the future, but the offering box. In other words, pretty much anything that's sitting on Tracy's desk in the front office that needs to go on the welcome desk, that needs to be put on there. Tracy tends to put the stuff out anyway. So as you know, folks in the office, we try to help out, we try to make it easier. But if you turn up and there's nothing on that entrance table, you need to come up to the office area and take those things off Tracy's desk. Except for the offering box. We're not giving anything away here because of course it's empty. This is before the service, so we're not. This isn't dangerous for putting on the internet. The offering box is in the white cupboard in the conference room, which is obviously just behind me there. But of course, that's the empty offering box. We don't put it in that white cupboard when there's any money in it. But essentially making sure that info table on entry is set up and ready to go. Also making sure that the foyer or the entrance is reasonably tidy. It doesn't have to be like a palace, but if there's a whole bunch of leaves that have blown in, making sure that it's tidy. Now, these are what I'm talking about here are the responsibilities of hosts. And I think it's very, very, very important that we remember that responsibility doesn't mean that you do it. And I know that might sound a bit counterintuitive, but it's a responsibility for making sure it's done. And so some might say, and some have said, well, there's so many things that are on this list that are to be done. Well, yeah, but part of hosting is to, engage with visitors and love them and welcome them, etc. But it is also, and this is crucial, it is also the rustling up of regular Waratah folks to say, hey, look, would I be able to trouble you? Could you just grab a broom and just sweep that entrance or whatever? That's actually okay. I think as a church, we've kind of just got to work together as a team. Church is not about us. It's not about me. When I come to church, I am fully expecting that I will have to serve in some way that I wasn't planning to. A classic example was just Sunday past. I ended up doing the sound desk because no one was on sound. I'm not trying to say that to have tickets on myself. I'm just saying that's part of being part of a church. Yes, we've got rosters. Yes, we've got people to serve on stuff. But occasionally, someone's going to tap you on the shoulder. There's going to be a need that pops up on the day. We just got to be flexible. Just go, yep, no worries. I can do that. No problem. If we just know that we can rely on each other to jump in if there's a need that pops up, it just makes it so much easier. So if you're on the hosting ministry, you've actually got a right to say, and if they don't think you do, then play them this video. You've actually got a right to say, look, I'm busy getting someone's details or whatever. Could you just sweep those leaves for 30 seconds just out there? That sort of thing. I think it's also really important. You may notice that this room here that I'm sitting in, this is sort of just the general pastoral office. On Sunday, this is arranged in a circle. There's a circle of chairs here. Basically, that's the prayer room. And it'd be even better if you're here earlier than half an hour before and with fellow ushers. I think that would be great to utilise this room to come and pray in, to just have a 5-minute prayer. Dear Lord, help us to serve others today. Help us to make a good impression. May people that come to church today feel really welcome. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what the prayer is going to be necessarily, particularly, but you get the idea. As a hosting team, as I know at the moment we're only got 2 per Sunday, but as a hosting team, coming in and just having a seat in this prayer area and just praying over that ministry. Also, it's perfectly possible. I've got it set up. I try to set it up before I go home at the end of the week. But the light may not be on, so switch the light on, leave the light on. This is a space after church, and there have been people that have been in here and prayed before and after services. But that's what this area is for. So prayer for the hosting ministry is really important. Come down and feel free to use this room to actually engage in some prayer. It's also really important to utilise the connect forms that we have. I haven't got one on me right at the moment, but I'll probably put one. I'll probably attach one to the comments at some stage on this video. But anyway, if you are a host, you would have seen, and you will see if you sign on to the roster, that on top of the clipboard, which is the role, basically we have the connect forms. And yes, that's name, details. We talked a little bit about this in the last video, so I won't labour the point. But it's name and details, phone number, email, whatever. But as well as that, there are also boxes to tick about connecting in with the church, getting on prayer email, getting on the church list of emails, etc. But also, if people would like to know more about Jesus, if they'd like to read the Bible with someone, things like that, if they'd like to respond in some way, they are super, super important forms. So, hosts are responsible for putting one of those connect forms in the hands of a visitor, if you see one. The other one as well is the filling out of the role. The best way to do this is to, during the service, particularly during the sermon or whatever, to sit in a chair sort of towards the back even, and just tick off those that you see. And I think that's just really important. We rely on the role a lot as elders to govern how we do visitation and so forward. So the role is, taking and marking the role is really important, really, really important. And it's also difficult at first. Does it mean you got to learn everyone's name? Yeah, you got to kind of get to know people, but I can't think of a better way of really connecting with folks in the church and getting to know people than leaning into that task of marking the roll. Yeah, part of hosting, it is marking the roll, and we're just looking for folks' best effort. And if you don't, or if you've forgotten someone's name, if you don't know someone's name, or you've forgotten someone's name, there's nothing wrong with asking. A great trick I heard from one of our hosts was asking folks, what's your surname again? And finding the surname, and of course on the roll the surname has the first name matched up, of course. So that's a great way of learning folks' names if they're not familiar with who they are. So marking the roll, that is an area of the hosting ministry, and I really just hope it doesn't turn people off. I think that it's just a great way of learning, and if you don't know, then it's an opportunity to learn something new, learning names, learning new folks, etc. After the service, there's a couple of really important things. This is almost probably the most important phase of being a host on Sunday morning. So obviously there's going to be some people that feel a bit lost, that you want the natural conversations to continue on that were started prior to the service as you introduced folks. If you're wondering about what all that means, have a look at the previous video. We talked about the importance of introducing new folks to other people. However, you want that sort of thing to carry on, but if it doesn't, it means just being aware, just keeping an eye out. Just keeping an eye out for those that might look a little bit lost, that might sort of look a little bit lonely, and just pull them into a conversation. Keep that whole introducing them to other people going. The other role, so you might have on a team of two, one person doing that. What's the other host doing during this time? Well, I think one of the other things is I'm just going to adjust the brightness there because the clouds have gone a bit dark out there. The other role is to catch the bolters. Now, this is a bit of a colloquial term, but we've come up with the name bolters. These are the people that will, as soon as the last syllable of the last song has been sung, they are already halfway to the car, walking out into the car park. And you know what, look, sometimes people, this is a very important way of handling this, because we don't want to hold people up that are genuinely, have some place to be, or are indeed on their way to an emergency somewhere. That's the last thing we want. However, that doesn't mean we can't just have someone there to say, thanks for coming this morning, great to see you, hopefully see you next week, or something like that, just a greeting as they go. And so this means that one person, and hosts can sort this out between themselves, but one person on any given Sunday can just jump up during, or even before, or as the musos come up to sing that last song, and just stand outside the door to catch and greet and farewell even those that are just, want to bolt straight away until about 5 minutes after the service. Again, some folks that are, and I've done this, quite some time ago now, but, some folks that sort of are leaving, sometimes you can say, great to have, and they'll stop for 30 seconds and have a bit of a conversation. If they're doing that, they're obviously not in an enormous rush if they've got time for a conversation. So you can say, look, have we got your details? Can we have a chat with you during the week or something like that? In other words, sometimes you can actually get to putting a connect form in the hands of someone who doesn't already have one. But just moving out towards the door just before the end of the service to sort of catch the bolters is a really, really important part of the hosting ministry. So yeah. The other person, and also that particular host, once it's about let's say 10 minutes after the service, they can move back in and join the other host in just making sure visitors in general have a cup of coffee and are engaged in conversations, etc. Cool. So it's also finally important what to do at the end of the Sunday. So I would define the end of the hosting ministry after, let's say, after half an hour after the end of the service. So when more than half the church have already left, you've got a situation where the church is finished at, let's just be hopeful. Let's just say 11. Okay. So if it's after 11:30, and I would say that's the cut-off point. Half an hour after the church has finished, then hosts are able to just kind of, we're done for today. So before kind of knocking off from hosting on a Sunday, there's just a couple of things. Before the designated lock-up person locks the church up, it's really important that the name tags and the roll and any connect forms and all that sort of thing, that is gathered up and taken and placed on Tracy's desk in the front office area. So that's that. In terms of the offering, that needs to be taken and placed into the photocopy room, which is of course locked. And of course it's very important to have that room locked, and there is a safe in there as well. Now, if you don't have a key to that room, if you don't have access to the safe, etc., then again, it's just the responsibility. It doesn't mean you have to do it. If I'm around, if Dave is around, if staff are around, you can ask them to unlock that room and put the offering away in the safe. But it is important that let's just put it this way. The main thing is that we don't leave the offering box sitting in the church hall. It's as simple as that. So if you don't know what to do, come and ask a staff member or an elder, and that room will be unlocked and that will be taken care of. Also, on every second service, the kids' activity packs are out in the hall, and it's really helpful if you can. It's not necessarily sort of it's not sheep stations, but it would be really helpful for those activity packs to be taken and put back in what used to be the old creche room / what is now, I guess, the staff kitchen up here in the office area. If you don't know where that is, or if the tubs are too heavy, don't worry about it. But that would just be a big help if hosts can return the kids' activity packs to the old creche room after the service when they're being used. And of course, making sure that those visitor connect forms are collated and taken up and put with the roll. Just the roll's a clipboard, of course, so you just sort of shove them under the clip and leave them on Tracy's desk. And and then that becomes sort of the follow-up during the week. So that's the hosting roster, the hosting roster training for now. Again, any questions, do please ask. And if you're not on that roster, but you just thought, these training videos, what are these all about? I might watch what's involved in the hosting roster. If there's any further to any of that, we'll be putting out a part 3 video. But for now, that's basically it. And if you'd be interested in becoming a host, please do let us know. There is one other thought that I would like to sow in people's minds. And it's a bit of a what if. This may not happen, but just imagine if every single person every single person on the current Waratah Church roll jumped onto the hosting roster. A couple of things would happen. Number one, you'd only ever be on the hosting roster maximum of twice in a whole year. So it'd really spread it out. You'd only be twice a year on the hosting roster. But the other thing would be, it would mean that everyone has to and has a chat with everyone else at least twice a year, especially, I guess in particularly, I'm talking about the person that ends up marking the role. What a great way to get to know people than to take up that task, let's say at least once a year. You just alternate which one you're on with your other time you're on. But imagine if once a year, just at least once a year, every single person at Waratah had to match each name on the roll with a face. How wonderful would that, how much would that build community? I think it would be amazing. And lastly, the other thing that would happen, I think, is that more and more and more, every single person at Waratah would see that, or would come to see and come to really passionately believe that retaining our visitors, especially those that are just exploring church or exploring faith for the first time, it would help us to see that loving, serving and retaining those people is everyone's responsibility. Everyone's responsibility. In a sense, we are all hosts. We are all hosts. And part of the reason why I thought of this was, well, I'll give you an example from my gym. So I joined a gym. And one thing I realised about joining a gym is you feel super, super awkward when you first turn up, because everyone knows what to do. Everyone's using the gear. Everyone's using the equipment. Everyone's, buff or, racked and super fit. And you're just kind of right at the very beginning, and you start using a piece of equipment. You're not even sure if you're doing it right. And you're wondering if people are laughing at you. They're not, of course, but these are the things that go through your head when you're as vain as I am. But one of the things that the gym does is that any time people join, they provide free of charge a fitness consult in which a personal trainer takes you on a guided tour around the gym and shows you how to use all the equipment. And it's absolutely free of charge. Now, obviously, part of it is they're hoping that you'll then book some future personal training with them, and therefore that's how they earn their money. But it is really handy. It is really handy to have someone give you, or maximum group of three. So it's yourself and I think it was me and two other people. This is a month or so, or a couple of months ago now. But they were taken around and just there's no rush. They just talk you through everything, and it's amazing how much more comfortable you feel when someone has taken the time to lead you around and just talk to you about what goes on. What goes on? There's a lot of stuff we do at church which must feel like foreign gym equipment to people coming in. What's this communion thing? What's the bread and the wine thing? Why do we stand up and sing? Can we not sing sitting down? Why are there big tables, small tables, and in rows? Do you have to be a certain holiness to be in the rows? There's about 1,000 assumptions that we have that we just expect everyone else to know. But I believe that it makes such a difference. It makes such a difference when we see it as one of our priorities and one of our responsibilities to, if people are coming into church for the first time, and we don't know if this is their first church service or not. We don't know that until we talk to them. But it makes a difference if we are going out of our way to notice folks and go, hey, hi, my name's so-and-so. Would you like to come and sit with me? This is why we do morning tea now, etc. Conveniences are out the back and so forth. Just making things a bit less scary, because people are already feeling super self-conscious when they walk into a church for the first time. and just not in a weird way, but just treating them respectfully as part of the crew, as part of the family. That is such an important ministry, and I want to thank you guys that are watching this, that are on the hosting ministry, because as I said in the first video, it's so important. It's so important. And if you're interested in becoming a host, becoming a great host on a Sunday morning, do let us know. But till next time, in our next training video, we will see you soon. Bye-bye.